Welcome back to my YouTube channel WC Coins. World today we are going to take a long and detailed journey into the fascinating history of the 1975 Jefferson nickel, the American 5-cent coin that carries with it not only the face of one of the most influential founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, but also decades of tradition, design changes, and minting history that make it a treasure for collectors and enthusiasts. The Jefferson nickel first appeared in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and it was created to honor Thomas Jefferson III, President of the United States and the principal author of the Declaration of Independence. The design of the Jefferson nickel was chosen through a competition, and the winner was Felix Schlag, a German-born American sculptor whose artistic vision left a lasting mark on United States coinage. By the time 1975 arrived, the Jefferson nickel had already been circulating for nearly 4 decades and had become a familiar coin to every American. The design, featuring Jefferson on the obverse and his home Monticello on the reverse, was iconic and represented a piece of American culture. The 1975 Jefferson nickel, therefore, was not just a coin, but also a continuation of a legacy that spanned generations. One of the important aspects of the 1975 Jefferson nickel is its composition. The coin was made of a copper nickel alloy consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This composition had been standard since 1946, after the end of World War II, when the United States stopped producing the wartime silver nickels that had been minted between 1942 and 1945. The obverse of the 1975 nickel features a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson. His image is bold and easily recognizable. The word Liberty appears in Jefferson's own handwriting style, along with the motto "In God We Trust" and the date 1975 positioned on the right side of the coin. This design continued the long tradition established since 1938, but with slight modifications over the years in striking details and minting quality. On the reverse of the 1975 Jefferson nickel, we see Monticello Jefferson's Virginia estate, which has always been a central element of the coin's design. The building is detailed with steps, columns, and a dome, and beneath it appear the inscriptions Monticello 5 cents, United States of America, and E Pluribus Unum. The design was intended to celebrate Jefferson, not only as a political leader, but also as an architect and visionary. In 1975, the Jefferson nickel was struck at several mints across the United States. The Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint were responsible for producing the coin, each with its own distinguishing mint mark or lack thereof. Philadelphia nickels carried no mint mark, while those struck in Denver bore a small D mint mark, and San Francisco issues carried the S mark, especially for proof coins. The mint marks on the 1975 Jefferson nickels were placed on the reverse of the coin to the right of Monticello near the rim. This practice had been consistent since 1968, when the placement was shifted from the obverse, where it had originally appeared, from 1938 through 1964. For collectors, the position of the mint mark is a crucial detail in identifying and categorizing different issues of the coin. The Philadelphia Mint produced the majority of 1975 Jefferson nickels, with hundreds of millions entering circulation. This large production ensured that the 1975 nickel is a common date for the series and can still be found in circulation today. However, quality differences can be observed in terms of strike sharpness and condition depending on the mint. The Denver Mint also contributed significantly to the 1975 nickel mintage the coin struck. They are generally of good quality with a clear D mint mark. However, like all circulated nickels, they can show wear quickly on Jefferson's cheek and hair, as well as the steps of Monticello on the reverse. These high points are the first areas to flatten, and they are important for collectors who seek high-grade examples. San Francisco Mint production of 1975 nickels was focused on proof coins made for collectors. These coins were struck with special care, using polished dies and planchets, resulting in sharp details and mirror-like surfaces. Proof nickels from 1975 with the S mint mark are highly prized, especially in deep cameo condition, where the frosted design contrasts beautifully against the reflective background. In terms of design history, the Jefferson nickel remained largely unchanged from 1938 through 2003, with only minor adjustments to lettering and details. The 1975 issue sits firmly within this long era of consistency, making it part of a nearly 70-year stretch of design continuity. This is one reason why the Jefferson nickel is often seen as a reliable representation of American coinage tradition. The year 1975 itself was an interesting one in American history as the country was preparing for the upcoming bicentennial celebrations of 1976. During this time, patriotic themes and historical appreciation were strong in the culture, and while the nickel did not receive a bicentennial redesign like the quarter half dollar, its ongoing presence tied it to the period. Collectors value 1975 Jefferson nickels, primarily based on their condition mint mark and strike quality, while circulated examples are common uncirculated or high-grade pieces, especially those with full steps on Monticello are much scarcer. Full steps refer to the horizontal lines on the steps of Monticello being completely visible and uninterrupted, a detail that indicates an especially sharp strike. Steps on 1975 Jefferson nickel coins are crucial for value, especially in the Philadelphia and Denver editions. Proof coins from San Francisco also have their own grading standards with designations, such as cameo and deep cameo. These terms describe the level of contrast between the frosted design and the mirror. Fields of the coin collectors often seek out the deepest cameo examples, as they are the most visually striking and rarest among the proofs. Another element to consider when studying the 1975 Jefferson nickel is its place within the broader economic and numismatic landscape. During the 1970s, inflation and rising costs of materials were concerns for the U.S. Mint, though the nickel remained unchanged in composition, while other denominations like the cent would undergo changes in later years. Interestingly, the Jefferson nickel series has been one of the longest-running designs in U.S. coinage history, only surpassed by the Lincoln cent in terms of longevity. The 1975 issue is a mid-period coin that sits at the heart of this long timeline, representing stability in design amidst other changes in American currency. In addition to regular strikes and proofs, errors and varieties also exist for 1975 Jefferson nickels. Collectors often seek doubled dies, repunched mint marks, or striking errors such as off-center strikes or clipped planchets. These unusual pieces can turn an ordinary 5-cent coin into a much more valuable collectible. The Jefferson nickel was always more than just a piece of money. It was a symbol of Jefferson's vision, his dedication to liberty and learning, and his influence on American society. The 1975 nickel continued to spread Jefferson's legacy into millions of pockets across the nation, reminding people of history with each transaction. It is worth noting that by 1975, the U.S. Mint had already produced billions of Jefferson nickels since 1938, which meant that the design was incredibly familiar to everyone who used coins in daily life. This everyday presence is part of what makes studying coins like the 1975 Jefferson nickel so fascinating. They were common, yet they carried deep meaning. The mintage numbers for 1975 Jefferson nickels highlight just how common they were, with more than 600 million produced across all mints. However, within such a large mintage are the rare examples of high-grade strikes and error coins that collectors search tirelessly for in order to add something special to their collections. For numismatists, the 1975 Jefferson nickel also represents a study in consistency of design and minting technology. While there were no major changes introduced in this year, the quality of strike and the survival of pristine examples remain key areas of focus when evaluating these coins today. Over the years, third-party grading services such as PCGS and NGC have certified many 1975 Jefferson nickels, providing population reports that show just how rare high-grade examples with full steps really are. Collectors use these reports to understand the market and to judge the scarcity of coins in particular grades. For the average person, however, the 1975 nickel might just appear as an ordinary coin in their pocket change. Yet for those who study coins, its details, its mint marks, and its condition tell a much larger story about history, about minting practices, and about the values of the numismatic community. The San Francisco proof issues of 1975 stand out because they were never intended for circulation. Instead, they were sold in proof sets to collectors who valued their perfection and beauty. Today, these coins often survive in pristine condition since they were carefully stored and preserved. Unlike circulation strikes, Jefferson's portrait on the obverse of the coin has often been studied for its realism and artistic merit. Felix Schlag, the designer, faced many challenges in capturing the likeness of Jefferson, but his design ultimately won and stood the test of time. The 1975 issue continues to carry this portrait faithfully. Monticello on the reverse has also become iconic. It represents not only Jefferson's home, but also his ideals of architecture and enlightenment inspired living. In the 1975 nickel, this design appears sharp when well struck and remains a centerpiece for those who collect Jefferson nickels. Looking back at the 1975 Jefferson nickel, we can see it as a piece of living history. It is both a continuation of a long tradition and a reflection of its time period. A coin that circulated during the mid-1970s, carrying with it economic transactions and cultural significance. Even though millions were made, the quest for perfection in numismatics means that only a small percentage of coins are considered truly special. This is why collectors will pay premiums for examples with perfect strikes, for proofs with deep cameo surfaces, and for any variety or error that sets the coin apart. The nickel denomination itself has played an important role in American commerce since its introduction in the 1860s. Originally made of silver, the nickel became a copper-nickel coin after the Civil War and has remained so ever since. The 1975 nickel continues this long tradition. The 1970s, as a decade, were a transformative time in the United States with political changes, economic challenges, and cultural shifts. The 1975 nickel, while not flashy or redesigned, still reflects that era as it was part of everyday life for millions of Americans. For those who collect Jefferson nickels by date and mint mark, the 1975 issue is essential to complete the series. It may be common, but it is a necessary piece that links the collection together and tells the full story of Jefferson nickel production. Many coin albums and folders were sold in the 1970s, encouraging collectors to save one coin from each year and mint mark. The 1975 nickel filled its spot in these albums and continues to hold that place for those building complete sets today. Beyond its role in collections, the 1975 Jefferson nickel remains an accessible entry point for new collectors. It is inexpensive in circulated condition, easy to find, and yet it offers a gateway into the fascinating world of numismatics. For historians, the 1975 Jefferson nickel offers insights into minting technology of the era, into the stability of design, and into the way the U.S. Mint balanced tradition with the demands of mass production. While the cent underwent changes and the bicentennial coins received new designs, the nickel stood steady. As we analyze this coin in depth, we understand that every detail matters, from the placement of mint marks to the sharpness of Jefferson's hair to the steps on Monticello. Each aspect tells a story about how the coin was made, how it survived, and how it is valued today. The 1975 Jefferson nickel, therefore, is not merely a small piece of metal. It is a chapter in the story of American coinage. It bridges the past of the 1930s, when it was first designed, with the future changes that would come in the early 2000s when new Jefferson designs were introduced. In conclusion, the 1975 Jefferson nickel 5 cents is a coin that represents stability, history, artistry, and collectability. It circulated widely. It carried Jefferson's image and ideals into daily life, and today it continues to hold the interest of collectors who see in it both the common and the extraordinary. This is the story of the 1975 Jefferson nickel and the legacy it preserves. Thanks for watching WC Coins World. Until next time.